Wow, good morning, everybody. It's such a joy to come your way today. And I just had to jump in this because I'm so excited because today promises to be an exciting time. It's another edition of Knocks to Nuggets. And my name is Oluwayomi Ute. It's such a joy to come and join me on this platform. Thank you to everyone that's coming on live, whether on Facebook or on YouTube. Thank you so much for giving me a share of your time. And like I will always say, like the video, share it, pass your comment. Let me have that feedback. And of course, subscribe. So every time we come live, you will be notified. And for those that will join later, thank you so much for also coming on the platform. I'm so grateful. Yes, somebody is online saying, we have been waiting. Oh, yes, I also have been waiting. Today promises to be exciting. And I'm already begging, like, I think we might need a part 2 or a part 3 of this, but let's just start today first. And my guest in the house is no other than a Nigerian speaker, author, sex educator, and child abuse activist. He is the founder of Center for Sex Education and Family Life. He is the principal consultant of Praise Fowowe International, as well as the founder of the Institute of Family Engineering and Development Africa. Of course, you already know, my guest in the house today is no other than Praise Fowowe. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. And today is actually in honor of the fathers. And I want to stop to say very happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And I'm so excited because not only is it Father's Day for my husband, it's also our 26th wedding anniversary in a few days. This week will be doing our 26th. Yesterday was, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yesterday was full, it was exciting, and I just had fun celebrating him on Father's Day as we enter our anniversary week. A good shout out to Bishop Michael Konko, the father of fathers. Thank you for all you do for us. We truly do appreciate you. And for all the fathers out there, I celebrate you. So today is Praise in the house, and I'm not going to be talking much. Honestly, I'm just going to keep quiet and listen. People have asked me, Praise, can you do this in 30 minutes? I said, well, we will give it a try, but I'm coming straight at you. It's Father's Day. Who actually a father?
Okay. The what I mean, for everything I do, I like to process it from etymology because that's the only way you can go wrong. Etymology means the first time the word was used. And when people don't understand etymology, they will build their own emotions on a concept and they will miss the reality of that concept. So the word father is the word ab. It's a Hebrew word that means ab means source, right? And so when you talk about fatherhood, you are talking about the source of something. Now, the question now will be what source are you? So in the Hebrew tradition, you will hear a grammatical construct of names like Ab Shalom, which is father of peace, Abraham, which is father of nations. So you see that prefix Ab, which is not a title. It's actually a role, that has a role description. It's almost like a job description that if you don't adhere and fit into it, you cannot say you are a father. So people think, and I know if you check the English dictionary, it will tell you a father is someone who has a baby. Now, English language is a language that is less than maybe 500, 600 years old, right? Yeah. And so, and that's why a lot of people who have children, biological children, think that they are not fathers. Fatherhood is the role you play, in the life of the people draw inspiration from you. So you can be the source of succor, you can be the source of leverage, you can be the source of values, to people, and you can also be the source of pain, right? So you can be the father of pain, you can be the father of crisis, the ab of crisis. So how you live and who you are and what will produce consistently when people encounter you determine and define the father that you are. So when people understand, the concept of fatherhood, a whole lot of dynamics will change. And I always say to people that the easiest way to understand the role description of fatherhood is to read the Lord's Prayer, right? And so if you read it, it actually distills the role. So if you say our Father, I mean, that already says to you that you are not to your biological children. You can be a father to an entire generation. So people you didn't give birth to naturally can actually draw inspiration from you. Next thing talks about who art in heaven. That is domain. To say, where is your domain? What sector can you be traced to? I mean, can you be traced to the club or to bottles, where you are drinking and you are drunk? Who art in heaven? Where exactly is your domain? Can the people duration from you trace you to a particular location, right? Then hallowed be your name. That talks about the reputation and the integrity of your name. That when your name is mentioned as a father, what does it elicit? Does it elicit pain? Does it elicit rape? Does it elicit abuse? Does it elicit inspiration? Right? So hallowed be your name. Then it talks about thy kingdom come, which talks about your influence, right? That what kind of influence do you have in the society? What kind of influence do you have? Can your name open doors? Can your influence open doors? Do you have a particular domain where you have dominated in a way that your name defines that domain? Okay, thy will be done on earth talks about purpose. Every father must have a purpose. Now, the purpose must be for you, but the purpose must also be something that transcends you to your children, right? So that thy will be done on earth. So if you look at the will there, it's actually the same word for the will you give to your children when you're gone. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That inheritance, most of the time, is qualified in monetary terms. It's actually your name and your reputation. That your will must be strong enough that your name must be able to open doors. If someone walks up to you right now and says, my name is Praise Mandela, the likely question is, which Mandela? If I now say to you, Madiba, you are likely, your perception towards me will automatically change. Some doors will naturally open. So thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that talks about alignment of whatever you say your purpose is with heaven. That does it glorify God? Does it bless you after you? Okay. And then it talks about give us this day, which distills your role as a provider. Right? Give us this day our daily bread. The word there actually is give today what will be sufficient for the rest of our lives. That's what that place is saying, which means that as a father, you are supposed to build your children in a way that they can survive without you for the rest of their lives, right? And so when we talk about fatherhood, they just think it's sperm donation. No, it's a lot of work, right? So when you say give us our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, a proper father is a father that has what we call the forgiving heart. A forgiving heart is a heart that is willing to forgive before the offense is committed. So when you spot a behavior in your child and the behavior does not align with best practice model, you will know that every misbehavior in a child can be tracked to two things: a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self. That was why when the prodigal son went away, the father did not ask him, where did you go? You have spoiled the money. In fact, he was coming back to be a servant. The father knew that what had happened to him was that he lost consciousness of his identity, and immediately he restored him back to sonship. So every misbehavior is an opportunity for a father to remind the child of who he is. Now, so forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those trespasses. Lead us not into temptation. That you need to provide covering in a way that your children are not led into temptation. The covering you are providing is financial, is emotional, is psychological. What that means is, for example, you must be the first date in the life of your daughters and your sons. If you have dated your children in a way that your daughter's esteem is intact, it's going to be tough for the mechanic down the road to molest your child, or for some, I mean, if you're a father who is fond of telling your daughter the best that has happened, you are showing her what I esteem is. If she goes down the road and someone says you are beautiful, she's not going to blush because that is who she is, and the father already gave her a self-esteem. So many of us lead our children into temptation by the things we don't do, by not being present in their lives, by not modeling the right kind of life for them, by not instructing them, by not providing stability. by not providing the finance your child needs to survive, right? So lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. That talks about your role as a security person, right? That you need to be sensitive enough to sniff evil from afar and prepare your child against it. So, for example, we say that you don't learn to swim when you're drowning. What that means is you preempt what is likely going to happen and prepare your child against it. For example, the LGBT movement is on. How are we preparing our children? Child sexual abuse is everywhere. How are you preparing, your children? So it's a whole lot packed into the Lord's Prayer. And I think when people understand that it's beyond the Lord's Prayer, it's actually the role description of who a father is. When we read it, we will read it with more understanding, and we will now begin to work on ourselves to align with that role description, because fatherhood is actually a role, right? It's not a title. And you can actually opt out of that compulsory, right? But once you take on that role, is a whole lot of responsibilities, and I hope we're ready for it.
Wow. That was, in fact, that's not that. I don't know what to say about that. That was some very, very deep description of who a father is. Honestly, I have never seen the Lord's Prayer from that perspective before, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I mean, if I go back to read the Lord's Prayer now, it's going to mean a different thing totally. And I know I'm not the only one. Thank you so much for that. But I haven't broken it down. You have answered the question so well. Who a father is. My next question will be, they said I should wait, let them digest that one before the next question. How long will I wait? But I love what somebody said earlier. She said she's not going to write. She's going to listen again and again and again, because it's so much. Trust me, Emeka, you cannot digest this in 1 minute. Trust me. So just get ready to watch it again and again and again. And the truth is this, Praise, if everyone coming up today has this clear understanding, we will do things a whole lot differently. Many things we do, we will not do. Many things we say, we will not say. Emeka, I said I should be calming down. I'm calming down, but you know what? Time is not calming down. It's just ticking and talking and ticking and talking. So we'll go on, but you're going to listen again. So I haven't explained this role so aptly. Praise, in today's world, everything is fast food, fast prayer, fast everything. How does a man cope with this huge role as a father?
Okay, so you see, there are three concepts that we often don't differentiate. There is the manhood or malehood, there is the husbandhood, and there is fatherhood. One is identity, the other two are optional roles. So you can actually take on the posture of a male, and that is very easy to define. A male is the masculine expression of humanity, because the word man is not the word male. Man is humanity expressed in two gender, male and female. So female is actually the feminine expression of humanity. Now, so you can stay in there and say you want to match, because at the level of malehood is where you find your identity. That's where you create a vision for your life. That's where you find your purpose. That's where you discover your passion. That's where you create your values. And that's where personal development is done. Unfortunately, many people were not properly raised, because by the fathers that also raised them and the mothers that raised them. So you have a whole lot of people whose malehood or manhood has not been maximized, now taking on that role. So manhood is actually foundation. Husband and fatherhood are structures that rest on that foundation. When manhood or malehood is compromised, right, you realize that those other things is going to crash. However, you need skill set for those two roles, being a husband and being a father. There are different role descriptions. Unfortunately, it is not taught. So people are not taught how to parent, for example, how to be a father. So I was sharing something yesterday that in Africa, we are very heavy on child dedication. Where did we copy child dedication from? We copied it from the Jewish culture. Jews dedicate a child. But the Jews have a 14-year parenting curriculum wherein you bring your child to the community and you put your hand on your child and you declare to the community, this is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. Now, so we copied the ceremony without copying the curriculum. So you realize that, and so we are heavy on names as they are heavy on names, but there's a structure that delivers their own name. So if they say a child is a savior, they build a structure that ensures that that child becomes a savior. We call a child, savior, but we have no structure to deliver that saviorhood in the life of the child. So what I always say to men is we need to go back to the drawing board and even discover ourselves. Because when you are formidable, right, it becomes very easy because you switch the roles. So it's like you are a man, but at work you are an accountant. So you can be a good man and a bad father, right? And you can be a bad husband. You can even be a good man, a bad husband, and a good father. You can be a good man, a bad father, and a bad husband, right? What is happening there is that you do not have the requisite skills to fulfill those roles. And they can be taught, it can be learned. And that's why we need more role models who understand those roles that people can go and be mentored by, because people learn more by observation. If we hold one another, let's say one man is now mentoring like 10 other people to show them this is how it's done before they get married at all. To say, okay, come and observe how we do things. Come and live in our house and see the way we do things. It becomes very easy to replicate these things. Yes, out there is very tough, but it's the responsibility that God has given us. He will not demand for what he has not equipped you with. But we need to activate that power. We need to take lectures. I just finished a class, the new rules of parenting, and it's a class I run consistently. Guess what? In that class, I can tell you the people who show up are 90% mothers, right? And so I asked them, where are your husbands? They say they are busy. They are busy because there is just this thing about the mentality of men that says, what can a man teach me? I know it all. But you see, you can't know parenting. You can know sperm donation. Parenting is a different ballgame entirely. Fatherhood is a different. If all you have donate sperm and you say you have money, that is sperm donation. You are a human sperm bank and you are a sponsor, because the role requires some definite skill. And if you don't know the skills, you don't know the skills. You will make a terrible, terrible performance of that role. And you will think, oh, but I'm paying your school fees and da 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 da. Your child needs more than school fees. Parenting is present. Your child prefers the gift of your presence to your present. And I consistently see that when children leave home, they come back to pick their mother in the name of maybe Omugo or whatever. They take their mothers away, and African men become lonely in their old age because the child does not remember moments of that being there, of that showing up during school, inter-house sport, of that showing up for open day, PTA meeting, of that coming for visiting day in the name of I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. You will always create time for what is a priority to you. The question is, are your children your priority? If they are your priority, you will always create time for them. So what we need to do is, can we calm down and admit that we don't know? When I ask men, who taught you about fatherhood? They say their father. Who taught your father? His own father. Who taught the father? They go on and on and on and on. Then they go to a man in the bush hunting for squirrel. A man who does not really know, who thought that having a child is to have labor, free labor, to help him in his farm. That is the man who has the software, who taught the man, who taught the man, who taught the man, who taught the great-grandfather, taught the grandfather, who now taught you. So you are living with the software of men in Stone Age. When times have changed, seasons have changed, the demands have changed, the new children you have right now are Generation Z and Generation Alpha. They come with their dynamics. Do you understand them? If you don't understand them, you will still be in your house and be shouting, my father did not talk back at me. You have no right to talk back at me. No, Generation Z will question you. They will talk back at you because they need clarity. They will not be our generation that kept quiet. Well, Daddy was the lion of the tribe of home in our generation. In their generation, Daddy has to be a co-creator. Daddy has got to be able to explain everything he's doing. If Daddy says, let us serve God, you must be able to explain that God to them. They want to know and they deserve to know. So you need to step down from your high horses and pick on new rules, because there are actually new rules to this game. And if you don't understand it, you don't know it. And if you don't know it, I'm sorry, you just realize that your children will find the inspiration elsewhere.
Wow. If you don't know it, you don't know it. And if you're not careful, your children will find inspiration elsewhere. Now, Praise, while you were talking, what was going through my head is this: how did these new generations appear? That's the word, appear. Because I remember our own generation. Your father is talking, you are very calm and like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. This guy don't say, but mommy, why? Daddy, why should I? Why won't you instead? Why? I mean, how did this transition happen? How did we move from the quiet, submissive generation to the Sorosoke generation? How did that transition happen? If we understand the how, we understand how to deal too.
We were not submissive, we were domesticated. That was what was done to us. Our parents thought they disciplined us. They didn't discipline us. We were domesticated because there are three words. There is discipline, domestication, and punishment. The word discipline is the Latin word disciplina. It means to groom, to train, to disciple. Within the context of discipline, there is no yelling, there is no shouting, there is no spanking, there is no beating. There is another word called domestication, which is Latin word domesticator. Domestication means to tame, to clip wings, to put under. So when you use statements like, I will clip your wings, what you are saying is, I will domesticate you. And never forget that we grew up in the military era. So our typical parents looked like the military man who was the governor of our state. Now the third word is the word punishment, which is the Latin word punire. Punire means to punish, to inflict pain, to avenge, and to deal with, right? So you realize that what our parents did to us was domestication and punishment. And that's why many of us battle low self-esteem, because if you were disciplined and discipled, you won't have low self-esteem. You won't have insecurity, right? So we were, and that's why when we see evil, we can't correct evil. When we see leaders who are not doing it right, we can't correct them. We help them when they are there. When they now go away, we now say it's a useless leader. So we were brought up to have dual nature, or what we call our hypocritical nature. And you see that consistently manifest. Now, so there are different generations with generational demand. Now, so you have the baby boomers, you have the generation X, you have the generation Y, Generation Z, and Generation Alpha. I believe are the generation that God has sent to now question us, our parents got away with. Because we could ask questions. If you can't ask questions, you can't question the status quo. If you can't question the status quo, you can't innovate. That's why many of us are job seekers. We are employees. We are not entrepreneurial. You can see our children, they are entrepreneurial from age 16, 14. They are already starting their businesses. They are saying, I'm not going to work for anybody. Why? Because it's a questioning generation. If you have, see many of our sabotaging patterns and sabotaging culture. We say as a child, don't look at an adult. Don't look at their face when they are talking to you. What is in the adult face that we can't look at? So because of that belief, many children were molested. Many children were messed up by uncles, by aunties, all the people listening to me right now. If you were ever sexually abused, you know it's a family member. It's someone you know. It's one uncle that they say, don't look at his face, right? And so many of us, our children are seeing the pain we are being through. And never forget, with the internet, they are seeing life elsewhere. When we're growing up, we have no access, except your family had satellite dish. And in an entire town, maybe only one. And that man will come back for holiday during Christmas. So your opportunity of seeing life elsewhere is restricted to what happens on NTA from 4 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Right? But now with internet, with cable television, your children are seeing other children in Japan. They are seeing other children in South Korea. They are seeing them in America. And they are wondering, these don't add to it, and their nations are better than their nation. They are checking your prayer point. You are trusting God to be able to go to these nations. So they are wondering, if you say these nations are bad, their children are bad, why is it on your prayer point? And why are you trusting God for visa to America? Why are you trusting God for visa to Germany? Right? How come all the invention you are trusting God to afford, from your car to the plane to house, they were things invented by these spoiled children? So they are asking questions that if what you say discipline is truly works, what have you innovated? What are your results? What value have you added to humanity? They can't find it. So now they begin to question that this template is not right and it needs to be questioned. And that's why it suddenly looks like there is sorority generation. And never forget, our educational system has broken down. So we depend on British curriculum, American curriculum to educate our children, even in Nigeria. And it's the aspiration of every parent that their children go to school abroad or go for masters abroad. So when by the time they go up, they come back with the culture of the abroad, and they see their colleagues how they question their parents. So they are wondering, why can't I question my parents, right? And that's exactly what is happening now. And they are they're very diverse, unlike us. Our parents warn us, don't talk to a Muslim, don't talk to this, don't talk to that. That doesn't work with them because the leveler for them is the internet, right? Once they understand the language of social media, if you can do social media, I can do social media, then we are the same tribe, you know. So we need to understand that it's a new generation and we cannot fight them. We need to accept them and rent a space in their head and influence them. That's what we need to do. The custodians of the old order are the enemies of the new order. So we need to embrace them, appreciate them, engage them, because they want dialogue instead of instruction and command, right? So when we understand their dynamics, they are actually very easy to influence if you know how to, right? And because I work with them and I know they are very, very easy to. So when people say they are misbehaving, I don't understand what they're talking about, right? If you understand their passcode, you can actually work effectively with them. But appreciate them because they will make you better. My children have made me better. They ask me questions that my mind has never gone to, and it makes me research them all. And so I'm a better parent because of their questions. If they never ask me, I will wallow in my mediocrity and think I'm doing well. Meanwhile, I wasn't doing
well. Wow. Praise. Well, but let me buttress the last sentence before I go to what's on the screen. You know, one of the sessions we had sometime back in the month of was it June of May, Children's Month. A parent was on the platform, and she said one day her daughter came to her and said, "Mommy, that God forgives, right?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "God forgives all sins." And she said, "Yes." She said, "Mommy, can we go to God and apologize on behalf of the devil? So God can forgive the devil and all of these things can end." And I was like, wow, how could a child even think of that? Said, let's go on behalf of devil and go and apologize to God and let God
Yes.
just forgive the devil and let us just move on with life. That's how the mind of the children work. Somebody said to me, and Praise, I'm going to round off in like another 5 minutes, but somebody said, I don't agree with Praise. And I don't totally agree with Praise submission. And I wouldn't interpret it in a direction, but he asked it in a different way. But I'll take this first. He talked about learning from the fathers to the fathers to the fathers to the fathers. I agree. Nobody has really taught parenting, but you said something. A lot of times we learn from what we see. And truth be told, some of these great fathers actually understand what you're saying. They actually were able to raise and disciple their children. But I guess along the line, it was watered down by many reasons, maybe economic. So somebody is saying, Praise, I do agree. Sometimes you're not attending, not because of what you're saying, because again, fathers need to make the money. My question to you, as we're going to round off for today, I'm only honestly hoping, like we spoke behind the scene, that we can come back for a part 2 of this, because truly we have not scratched it. But let me ask you this. Everybody might not be able to attend the family engineering class. How do we teach this new skill?
I mean, we don't expect everybody to attend family engineering class. That's the truth. And I always say to people that, I attend courses all the time. I make out time. You know, so when people say they don't have time, I don't understand what they mean. However, Nigerians learn mostly from their religious platform, right? So every church, as the last time I checked, has a parenting class, has got marital class, right? But maybe the curriculum has expired and needs to be looked into. right? Because those things were created many, many years ago, some of them over 20 years, 30 years, right? It may not no longer fit the reality of what is on ground, right? Can churches at least maybe get your head of, I mean, I know a few churches that have implemented this and it's working. We are tracking because I do data, I don't just talk recklessly. We do data. So I'm sharing analytics, right? And they are monitoring them and they are realizing that they are parenting better. Why? Because they embrace new skills, right? So if churches, maybe their pastors, because an average pastor, for example, is not in touch with what is happening on the street. Not because they don't want to, but because they are insulated. You are not likely going to enter that Danfo bus, the slant. You don't know what is happening on campuses. You are just going to assume, right? So you need to depend on the people who actually relate directly with the people and can feed you back for you to innovate new solutions. For every challenge that you see in on this planet, you can always create a solution to it. But we need to at least admit the fact and now innovate new solutions. So if the churches embrace and they train their people, train their ministers on, for example, when I sit with couples or parents, I don't even need to listen to them. I will deploy my psychometry. In 15 minutes, I know exactly what is happening. 94% accurate. Do you understand? So instead of wasting 7 hours in counseling, what a psychometry can reveal, so if people embrace new methodology, I mean, imagine all the churches we have around. Imagine if there is one in every church. Then it means we can reach out to more people, because the ratio of psychologists to even patients in Nigeria is crazy. You don't want to know about it. Doctor to patient is 1 doctor, 4 doctors to 10,000 patients. How much more? Psychologists, even the curriculum for training psychologists and guidance and counselors in our universities, some of them are outdated. So we need to, church has to now rescue the society and maybe the mosque as well. Once they embrace this, then they can now teach it in church to church, and more people, at least parents show up in church on Sunday and Wednesday. If we can now maximize that time, then we can equip more people and begin to raise a new generation. Let me tell you this. If you raise an Indian child, there is a template for raising them and you know what to expect. Indian and that's why you see them collaborate in different nations of the world to start businesses and go to Canada. They have almost taken over many parts of Canada, right? Because they do it as a group. Do the same thing as a group. Japanese do the same thing as a group. Chinese do it as a group, because there's a template from home that the educational system is built on, and the national policy, there's a national policy for. Nigeria and Africans don't have that. And that's why when you see us abroad, we struggle to collaborate. Even here, we are always suspicious of ourselves. It means something is wrong in our parenting script. And if we change it, then, and everybody embrace the new script, then we can raise children who can collaborate and do greater good for themselves and for their society. So that's what I think we need to do. Churches have to rescue our society right now.
Wow. Churches have to rescue our society right now. Like joke, 33 minutes gone. Praise, we need to put a pause. Let me ask you now, on national global television, next week, Monday, are you free? So we can have a part 2.
I am not free next week, Monday, but I'll try and talk to my team to see if they can move a few things around for me. So that I can make next week, Monday.
Thank you so much. So I take that technical commitment from you, and I'm trusting God that your crew, God help you to move things around. You have said a whole lot, and one of the things that I'm taking away from here is particularly the role of the church. That yes, everybody cannot come to a particular class, but if the churches begin to put the script in what we teach, in a shorter time, we'll have a new world. Thank you so much, Praise, for today. It's been amazing talking to you. I have too many questions in my head. I can't ask them all. There was one I asked behind the scenes. Someday, I'll bring you back to ask on that. How did you develop this passion that is consuming you on family engineering? Don't answer that. Someday, I'm talking about developing your passion. We will come back to you and that question. But thank you so much for today. Thank you for your time. I know how busy your schedule is. To squeeze this in for Knox to Nuggets, I'm so grateful. I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much, Praise. Have a wonderful week and see you next week, Monday. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Wow. that was not a mouthful, a head full, a handful, everything full. That was Praise Fowowe. So many comments say I couldn't take. I'm sorry, I couldn't take it all. As the official spokesman of Knox to Nuggets, Emeka, I hear you. It's coming back for part 2 and part 3. I will let him see that post. Trust me. Thank you to every single person that has made that time to be with me today. I don't take it for granted. I truly appreciate and I honor you. Like I would again ask you, please share this video. A lot of fathers, a lot of mothers, a lot of brothers and sisters, everybody needs to hear this. So much has been said, particularly the expose on our Lord's Prayer. That was rich. Thank you for sharing it. And for those that are watching thereafter, thank you so much. See you next week, Monday, hopefully with Praise Fowowe. God bless you. Have a glorious week ahead and never forget it. Together we win. Have a great day. Bye for now. Yeah, what a day.